Nymphaea lotus, a tropical water lily species, is widespread in Africa. Imported as Nymphaea zenkeri and tiger lotus from West Africa for a long time, it is the most popular water lily species in the aquarium hobby. With its big, round leaves with brown spots and stripes, the tiger lotus is recommendable as a gorgeous specimen plant in larger tanks. Depending on the coloration of the submerged leaves, the plants are often distinguished in red and green tiger lotus, but actually the plants delivered from the nurseries show all transitions and nuances from reddish green to red. The tiger lotus has no special demands, but should be planted in a free, well-lit place. Nutrient-rich substrate is very beneficial for its growth, but vigorously growing plants tend to develop long-stalked floating leaves, blocking out the light. To prevent this, long-stalked leaves should be removed as soon as possible. However, if the plant is allowed to grow with floating leaves, one can expect its beautiful white, fragrant flowers which are open from evening to late morning. This plant is often, but not always, delivered as a tuber that sprouts in the tank. A short shoot with a rooting leaf rosette appears. Later the young plantlet detaches from the tuber. A young Nymphaea lotus plant is also viable when it is delivered without a tuber. Old, full-grown plants develop a tuber themselves. Complete botanical name: Nymphaea lotus L. Family: Nymphaeaceae. Genus: Nymphaea. Difficulty: easy. Usage: background, midground. Aquascaping: very colorful plant for accents. Growth: fast. pH value: 5 to 8. Temperature tolerance: 15-30 degrees Celsius. Carbonate hardness: 2-14 degrees DKH. General hardness: 0-30 degrees DGH. Propagation: runners, seeds. Can grow immersed. Unknown. Zenkeri, red, is native to the African tropics, where it is found in stagnant waters like lakes or temporary ponds. In aquaristics, it is by far the most popular species of its genus, and correspondingly well available in trade. It is also known under the name red tiger lotus. What to do when tiger lotus goes dormant? Sometimes bulb plants do have a dormant period, where all the leaves will die off and leave behind just the bulb. One option is to keep the bulb in the tank. After several months, it will start sprouting new leaves. You can also take the bulb out and keep it in a damp container for several months, then put it back into the tank. After that, new leaves will tend to form from there. The best choice is really up to the individual aquarist's preference. Aquarium Care. Red tiger lotus is generally sold within the aquarium hobby as either a bulb or a small juvenile plant with an existing root system. If purchased as a bulb, make sure that the bulb is firm and not soft or squishy, which would indicate it is dead. A good firm bulb can be planted about a third of the way into the aquarium substrate or simply place on top of the substrate, where it will begin to establish a root system and producing leaves. Do not bury the bulb too deep or completely covered by the substrate, as this will kill the plant. While the red tiger lotus can absorb nutrients and CO2 from the water column, it is primarily a root feeder and is best with a soil rich in iron. Additionally, once its leaves have reached the surface of the water, where it will take in atmospheric CO2. When kept in aquariums with plant substrates or dirt, the red tiger lotus will grow out extensive root systems and take in much of its nutrients through the roots. However, in aquariums with inert substrates, the red tiger lotus will be forced to take in the majority of its nutrition from the water column. In these cases, it is best not to plant it near more sensitive plant species that it will outcompete for nutrients and starve out. Oftentimes with this species, hobbyists find that its growth is too rapid, which is often the case in tanks with high-intensity lighting, use of liquid fertilizers and CO2. The two primary ways to slow down the growth of the red tiger lotus is to trim leaves before they reach the surface of the aquarium or constrain the roots so that they cannot spread into the whole substrate. Keeping leaves and lily pads from reaching the surface of the water keeps the red tiger lotus from accessing atmospheric CO2, which is much more abundant than dissolved CO2 in the water column. Constraining the root system prevents the plant from accessing all the iron and nutrient-rich soil or plant substrate throughout the entire aquarium. Limiting both CO2 access and root growth controls the amount of fuel the plant has access to and thus controls the rate of growth of the plant.